but most of you, this is your first exam. And also the delivery plan. This program is little different because it's a case study exam. It's different compared to the traditional degree programs that we have at colleges. So a little bit of detail on how the delivery works, and also the much awaited Q&A, because I'm sure that, being watching the recaps, you will definitely have questions for me. So let's take them one by one. Let's start with an introduction to the management case study exam. First things first, it's a PC-based exam. And due to COVID, due to the pandemic, you have two options. So CIMA has introduced online exams. So if your PC meets the requirements, you can basically do the exam from home, where you will be monitored by an online proctor. So CIMA has given the opportunity for candidates to take the exam from home due to the pandemic. At the same time, the exam center option is also available, subject to the lockdown restrictions in your regions. So we will look at that a little later, but my suggestion is for you to consider the exam center if available, because that minimizes issues that you could face while taking the exam, because there's an exam center and there's an invigilator and there's an admin staff who will be available for support. But if you're doing it at home, that may not be available. So before booking the exam, please make sure you check whether the exam centers are open in your areas. It's going to be a 3-hour exam, and the exam will comprise of 4 main questions. We will look at a question as we go on today, and the pass mark is 80 out of 150. So that's 54% of the marks. So CIMA has a system where the script is graded for 150, and out of 150, you will be required to score a minimum of 80 marks. And students who may have done operational case study in the previous syllabus, in the old syllabus, there was a requirement to score a moderate pass for 4 different skills. In the new syllabus, that is from now onwards, that requirement is not applicable. So all you need is just 80 out of 150. So that's about the basics of the exam. Let's look at how the paper is structured. Right. So the management case study exam, as the name itself implies, it's an exam based on a case study. So if you take the November exam, 7 weeks before the exam, information about a fictitious company is provided to you. This is the case study, also referred to as the pre-scene. And in your case, the pre-scene is releasing on the 2nd of October. So we will commence class as soon as we get the pre-scene to our hand. That's on Friday. And we will have our very first live session as scheduled on the 4th of October, right? So this will have information about a company which will be very close to a real world company, right? The name is fictitious, the country is fictitious, the management personnel are fictitious, but it's a real industry and it's a real world business company. And in the exam, you will be required to address 4 tasks, right? We don't even refer to them as questions, but 4 tasks. And to address these tasks, you need to know about the company, the case study, as well as you need to have the technical knowledge from P2, F2, and E2. So 2 things are important here if you are to pass the exam. Number 1, the technical knowledge. That's why we have the recaps. And number two, application of the technical knowledge to the given case study. This is where the exam differs from the traditional exams that we have in the academic programs. So typically when there is technical knowledge covered in a program, it's tested based on a small scenario in the exam application. But here you have to assume that you work for a company and you have to apply all the knowledge that you have gained from P2, F2, E2 to that company and to that industry. So this is how the exam becomes a little different. And even if you memorize everything on P2, F2, E2, still you can't pass the exam because all the content need to be applied to the case study. So it's an exam which requires application and practical thinking. And of course, it's a beautiful exam because of that. As Arjun was saying, that this is one of the case studies which I really love to teach because it's so interesting. As a trainer, every 3 months you learn something new because it's a new industry, new company, new problems, and it's all about addressing the problems, the real world problems the company faces using your technical knowledge. So it's basically a beautiful exam, and you will feel that you really developed your skills, your business acumen skills while you prepare for the exam. So let me actually also take you through the syllabus now that we've looked at the paper structure. So this is the CIMA curriculum, the professional level curriculum. So there are 3 levels, and you are currently at the management level, and you're taking up the management case study exam. Now, as you can see, the case study exam is titled Management Case Study Exam because this case study exam examines your application skills of the technical subjects you have learned in E2, P2, and F2. And therefore, whether you are a student who started CIMA from the certificate level, or whether you are a student who got registered with the exemptions pathway, it's important that you have this brought forward knowledge. One of the reasons why candidates are not successful at the management case study exam is that they do not take these technical recaps seriously. So you can't pass this exam without the brought forward knowledge, which is what we cover in the recaps. So please watch the recaps. Please read through those notes. Of course, there may have been certain areas which are difficult, confusing, because you don't have a direct tutor support. But, just watch everything. And if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, now that we have the WhatsApp group created, and now that you guys, have my contact number, feel free to message me. So I'll be responding as well. So make sure before the class commences, if possible, and I have actually seen the data, and some of you have already completed all the recaps, which is good, right? So basically on the LMS, I can track the progress, and some of you all have already completed it, which is very good. So you still have time. So make sure that you cover all these recaps. And afterwards, once we get the pre-scene, we will look at how these technical areas can be applied to the given case study, right? So because of that, if you can cover it now itself, it makes your life easy as we approach the exam. Right, let's look at a past paper, right? And a past pre-scene. So how does a case study look, and how does an exam paper look, right? So just a minute. Right, so there you are. This is the case study exam, which was held in February. Okay, so basically the pre-scene was released in uh, November. So last year it was released for the exam, which happened in February. So it was an interesting company. It was on a recording label, Travel Records, as you can see. And typically this information is given in the case study, which we call as the pre-scene material. So an introduction to the company and some information on the industry, okay, and also the company's business model, how the revenue streams are, okay, and also the financials about the company. So typically it's about 25 to 30 pages long document. So this is what we will be initially doing in the first 2 weeks classes. We will be decoding the information related to the given industry. So that's basically the pre-scene analysis part of it. And your case study, will be released on the 2nd of October. So until then, we really can't get into the analysis. So that's why we've scheduled the classes after 2nd. And before that, we will actually be recapping the technical areas. So this is how your pre-scene will also look like. And the exam, right? Let's look at how the exam paper looks like. So that's not really a paper, but yeah, a PC-based exam. So these are screenshots from how the PC looks, right, when you take the online exam. And initially you will get a breakdown of how many questions you get. This will be normally 4, right, and 45 minutes for each question, with a breakdown of how many sub requirements you have for each question. Right, let's look at one question. So this is how the questions will look like. It will be in the form of an email, right? So it'll basically read that you have received an email simulating a business context. There is some new development, as you can see, right? So questions will not be based on the pre-scene that you get 7 weeks before, but there will be some new development. As you can see, right, there is some information here. This is unseen information given to you on the exam day. And interestingly, there will be some new developments like this. So we see that there is some copyright violation. And on that ground, you have been given 3 requirements. So the requirements will be in bullet forms with the percentage of mark allocation, right? So 4 tasks like this, and this will be your answer screen. Okay, so very similar to your Microsoft Word answering screen, and you will be basically required to type your response in the answer screen. And a small difference between the management case study exam or the CIMA case study exams compared to other exams is that 45 minutes are specifically allocated for each task. So as your exam starts, you will be given 45 minutes to attempt the first task. And once 45 minutes lapse, then you will be automatically taken to the second task, right? So you can't, take more than 45 minutes for any given task. And neither can you look at the second task, the second question, before completing the first question, the first task. So there's a small, change which you need to adapt. It's not a big deal, but I'm just, giving you some heads ups as to how the exam works. So 4 tasks like this, right? And for the time being, you don't have to worry too much about the questions, right? Because we have to get started with our case study, our company, to look at possible questions based on our case study. So past papers helpful to understand how the exam looks like, but you can't really prepare for your exam based on past papers, because past papers are based on a past case study, right? So that's a different industry, different company. Therefore, we can't basically study past papers and we can't study past paper answers and prepare for your exam. So that's why we have mock exams, which are based on your case study. That is a must do for you, right? And as Arjun sir was telling, we will be giving a minimum of 5 mock exams, and we will be grading 3 mock exams with feedback. So that would be our plan in terms of the mocks. So let's get back to the slides on right. So just had a look at the pre-scene, a past one, and the exam paper, right? So let's now look at the session plan. So already most of you have got access to the LMS, right? So what we've done is we have uploaded most of the recap sessions. There was actually a question from, I think, Ronak about whether all recaps have been uploaded. So as far as E2 and F2 are concerned, most E2 all recaps have been uploaded. F2 and P2, depending on the case study, we may add a few more, right? And if it is added, I will be notifying you as well. But E2 complete recaps have been uploaded. F2 and P2, there might be certain additions considering this case study, but it won't be too much in any event. So that's where we start. And then we get to the pre-scene analysis. So that is when we start the live sessions in October. So once we analyze the company, we will also familiarize ourselves with the industry, because to apply the technical areas, we need to know some information about the company and the industry in which the company operates. And once we are done with the case analysis, we will move on to some model tasks. So these will be exam style questions to build practice and to understand the answering technique, and also, prep us for the mock exams. So once we go through the model tasks, we will actually get to the mock exams and the feedback together with mock exam discussion. So that's basically our plan. And something on recaps, I think this could be something that you might have been waiting to ask me, right? Of course, I'll give you the time to ask questions towards the end. So for the time being, watch the recaps and read through the notes, organize the notes in your PC and keep, right? So let's take a P2 topic. Let's say costing techniques is where we start. So there is a concept called value analysis. So after watching the recap and after going through the notes, you should be able to explain what is value analysis in 2 to 3 sentences, right? So you should know the concept. You should be able to explain the concept in 2 to 3 sentences, nothing beyond that. Because in the exam, if there's a question on value analysis, the question is going to be based on value analysis for the company, for your case study. In which case, you can't just write theory notes only on value analysis, but you need to build the application from theory. So after you study each part, you should be able to explain the concept in 2 to 3 sentences. That's all, right? In terms of P2, the theory areas. And the rest is what we practice when we do model tasks and mock exams. We look at how value analysis can be tested in the exam. And how do you build after writing 2 to 3 sentences of theory on value analysis. So that's what your focus should be now. And if you feel like you need a bit more information on any topic in F2, P2, E2, you're free to basically, just Google, read, or just go to YouTube and watch. That's perfectly okay. But we've kept it as a summary where we are looking at all the key points in each concept. Then let's look at a technical area. Let's say P2, investment appraisal. Okay, so you would see that the tutor is showing you examples of how an NPV is calculated. Now, in the exam, you will not be required to calculate an NPV. So management case study exam or any CIMA case study exam does not involve calculations. So that's a good news. But you will be given calculations in the exam as an attachment. An NPV calculation may have already been performed and you are given the result. So you will basically see the NPV table, which another staff member has completed. You might be asked to explain or comment on the NPV analysis. For example, now if you looked at investment appraisal, if you looked at NPVs, we only consider relevant cash flows and relevant costs. So the examiner might give you a table and ask your comments on whether the cash flows included in the NPV calculation are relevant or not. So you will basically have to apply your technical knowledge to that question and give your response as to the calculation. So that's how the calculation part of P2 will be tested. So do not worry that you will not be required to calculate an NPV, but be prepared to interpret an NPV, right? You should be able to explain what a positive NPV means. So it increases the shareholder wealth. A positive NPV means the project is viable. So that's what you should gather when you're watching the recaps on P2. So there's a theory side and there's the technical side of it. F2. So the financial accounting recaps. Now let's take IAS 37 provisions. Okay, so as far as the exam is concerned, you should be able to clearly explain, right, what a provision is, a liability of uncertain timing or event. So basically a small explanation, what is a provision. Then in every IAS and IFRS, there are some technical explanations. What you see in Nufel's notes are minimum. Those are minimum that you should basically remember or study for the exam. That's basically minimum, right? So as you prepare, for the exam, you are required to know the IASs, IFRSs with the name and number correctly, because your response will start, say for example, if there's a question on provisions, your answer should begin with reference to the relevant accounting standards. So you should say that guidance relating to provisions is provided in IAS 37, right? Provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets. So that's the starting point. Then the standard mentions 3 criteria which must be satisfied for a provision to be recognized in the accounts. Your next response in the answer will be to state the 3 criteria which must be satisfied. So you write it and then you look at whether the 3 criteria are satisfied in the given context, in the question that is given to you. So if you're studying F2 recaps, know the accounting standard with the number, with the name, and also technical explanations. What is an intangible asset? What is goodwill, right? And what are the criteria that must be satisfied, say for example, for an intangible asset to be recognized or for development costs to be capitalized. Those should be clearly remembered when you go to the exam. So that's how you should go about with F2. And once again, there will be no calculations on F2, right? So Nufail sir will be showing you some calculations so that you understand the concept, but you will not be required to perform the calculations, right? Then E2, I'm pretty sure E2 would have been the easier one to follow because that's related to management and it's all theory except for a little technical parts on project management. So E2, just know the concepts, right? So for example, you should know, let's say ecosystems. You should be able to explain what ecosystem stands, what it represents. So some basic idea about the concepts. The rest is about application to the given case study. So that's how E2 should be looked at. Right, so just a little more information. The mock exams will have to be taken online in a similar platform to the exam platform. So 3-hour timed mock exams. So you'll need to basically find the time to do the exams online, taking 3 hours, right? So that's something that you will have to plan for as we come, and we will actually be following the schedule that was shared with you. And so make sure you have time to prepare for the exam. Right, so exam dates. If you're taking the exam in November, you can choose from one of the 3 dates, 18th, 19th, and 20th of November. So that's a Wednesday, Thursday, and the Friday. So you could basically, based on the availability of the exam halls, the exam centers in your regions, you could basically pick a date. And yeah, before we get to the Q&A, questions and answers, I would like to stress something that Arjun sir said, right? So of course, we have produced good results, but as Arjun sir said, it was a collective effort, not just from our side, but it was supported, backed by candidate students. So all you need to do is devote time. That's all you need to do, right? You will get enough and more work for each day. Once we commence the classes, there will be homework, practice tasks every week, right? And it will only get more as we come closer to the exams. As the mock exams come, you will have 2 mock exams towards the last 2 weeks, and you will have always more to do towards the exam. A candidate who passed this exam, I can tell you, is a candidate who devoted time and worked. So you need to basically forget the fact that, okay, you know, I've done BCom, I've done bachelor's, maybe I have a first class. You need to forget all that. If this is your very first case study exam, you need to start from scratch. This is your first case study exam, first experience, and it's a small timeline that we are looking at. We just get about 7 weeks to go through this entire process, right? And you will feel it once you do the questions, right? Once the first model tasks are given, that's when you will really realize. Now, mark my words, right? So when the tasks are given in the first and second weeks, then only you will realize, hey, this exam is different. Yes, I need to devote time. So if you are able to devote time and if you are able to do the work, right, then you can definitely pass. Because I'm telling you one thing, CIMA's marking is objective. It's 100% objective. So whether you are a candidate coming through exemptions or whether you are a CIMA candidate who started from certificate level, whether you are a candidate who is attempting or resitting the case study exam for the 3rd or 4th or 5th time, it is immaterial. The marker knows nothing about the background of the candidates. So, you know, it doesn't matter if it's your 4th attempt, 5th attempt, there is no grace marking as such. So therefore, you need to basically, you know, take it seriously and adapt adapt to this style of examination. And all I would say is that devote time. If you devote time and do the work, you're definitely passing, and you should keep up with the work plan that we will be following. So that's all needed. So you will actually enjoy the process, right? It'll be a little hard when you have to, complete some mock exams, but definitely what I can tell you is that when you have completed this, you are a better person, right? You are a better person because it actually tests your skills to the core. So that's basically a brief on the management case study exam and our delivery plan. And of course, the floor is open for your questions. You could post it on the chat, or you could actually unmute and ask your questions as well.
Thanks, Shane. So I've unmuted all of you guys. So if there's anything that you want to ask, we would be extremely happy to take your doubts. We also have Suresh Kumar sir from Sri Sri University, the HOD, attending it. Welcome, sir. And guys, anything is there, do ask. And anyway, we are
Thank
all
you,
there
Sane.
we are all there on the chat forum, WhatsApp forum. As much as possible, up to 11, 12, we are there to respond to the queries. But beyond a point, if we are awake, we do respond. The whole objective is to make sure that you guys clear the exams in one attempt rather than revisiting the exam centers again and again. Uh, so anything's there, be free to ask. We are more of mentors than just to say that we are some tutors out there. We have been through this journey, so our idea is to help you guys out. And anything is there, any doubts on I think Shane has covered most of the things what is required. And guys, anything you want to ask?
Yeah, guys, at least one question.
Uh,
Yep. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Uh,
Yes.
Hi, Yash. Yeah.
yeah, just to give you a brief about my background, I'm not sure if anybody is working here, but I am a working professional. So my question was with respect to, you were just talking about that you would have weekend tasks to take care of, actually, if I'm not wrong. So I was just wondering on that note, will that be something that I can actually manage with my work during the work in the weekdays and the studies in the weekends?
Okay. Yes, one of an advantage what you have is since you are a CA, your P and F levels are quite strong compared to others. So that's one advantage what you have.
I'm
And with regards
sorry,
to
I'm sorry, but I guess this needs to be rectified. I am a master's degree and yeah, working with Deloitte. That's a bit about
okay,
me. Maybe you could have seen somebody else profile. So yeah,
okay, sorry, yeah. So sorry, yes.
not a
So
problem. That's okay.
masters in which?
This is finance. So yeah, I did my master's about 3.5 years ago from Bangalore itself,
Okay,
and currently I'm working with Deloitte US India.
okay. Okay, cool. See, in terms of the time requirement, once you're done with all the bridge programs, you would have to spend minimum of 2 to 3 hours a day. That is something you'll have to keep it for the next 45 days for
Hmm.
sure. But the priority for you is going to be to complete your E to P to F2, and that you can, because there is no schedule time for it. You can always, even if required, you can plug in your earphones,
Yeah.
listen to the lectures out there. uh, I think that should be a priority for you before the end of this month. That's what I would recommend. And
Okay.
October should be completely left for the case study part from October 2nd. Um,
Okay.
and 2.5 hours a day continuously. And last 1 week, maybe try seeing if you can stretch yourself out.
That's not a problem. I might take leaves on that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
last 1 week is going to be a little crucial because as you keep
Yeah.
going closer and with all the mocks feedback, you would want things to refine it
Indeed.
with the way the presentations are required. And that's what I would recommend for somebody who's a working professional right now.
Yeah. Okay. But it's quite manageable. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Uh,
And Shane, yeah.
Definitely, Yash. So I totally agree with Arjun. And since the live sessions are happening Sunday evening, I'm sure that
Okay.
if there is anything yet to be done weekends, you can basically attempt before Sunday evening. So definitely, Yashra, there are many working professionals who attempted management case study exam from India, from Bangalore, and have passed. So unless your, superior loads you with work over the weekends, you should be
No,
fine.
no, that's pretty manageable. Yeah. One more thing that is urgent for you. The access that we have got, do we also have access to the notes or something of that sort?
The notes are going to be there. If not, we would share it on the WhatsApp group. Not an issue.
Sure, sure, sure.
Because
Because I just saw videos, so just wanted to cross check. Yeah.
Yes, some notes are also uploaded along with the videos.
yeah, so it
Right,
has
so
to be. If
for-
not, I will
yeah.
recheck it back in the back end
Sure.
and let you know.
Okay, Arjun. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure, sure. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Thanks, Yash. Akanksha, you wanted to ask something?
Yes, Arjun. Actually, my question was with regards to whatever you have online. Okay, so right now when I was checking and cross-checking with the chapters that are in the textbooks, so there are few which are not there. So is it like only that is important which is given in that, or how is it?
Okay, so with regards to the case study and also with regards to the employment status, let's just try putting it across in two ways.
Okay.
The topics what has been covered out there is trying to keep in mind what is going to help you out with a case study. There
Okay,
are
fine.
few topics which are never asked in terms of the case, which we have purposefully exempted from it. And in the case, like for us as a tutor, we clearly are given instruction that these are the subject areas where the candidate will be tested on.
Okay.
And those are the videos which is available for the case study. So you can easily skip. It's not that you have to worry about it going back to the study text or other stuff. So you can easily ignore on it. If you really want to learn it from a knowledge per se, maybe post the exams are over, you can always get in touch with us. We can share you the balance videos too, not an issue.
No, I just wanted to know because I mean they just say that you have to go through everything. So when I came on that, I was like, okay, if you are missing, so what am I supposed to do?
And which material are you looking at? Because
I'm looking at the Kaplan textbooks.
the new version, is it?
Yeah, the new version.
Okay. Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
to add to what Arjun said, actually, as far as the case study exam is concerned, Akansha, not every area topic in E2, P2, F2 is tested. So what we have done is we have, included only the key areas, right?
Yeah.
And as I said, we will be adding few more recaps if we feel that it's a relevant area to the case study. And let me, brief you on all three subjects. So if you want some additional explanation, it's always okay to refer Kaplan and maybe read a bit on, let's say, NPV or maybe target costing. But as far as the exam is concerned, if you're able to explain the concept properly, the rest is application to the case study. And E2, right? E2 is where, the Kaplan textbook is, I would say not very value adding, because E2 is tested in a very practical context. So if you take a discussion on leadership, the E2 recap videos, we've just focused on the main leadership styles. But if you resort to the Kaplan E2, there will be many theories on leadership, John Adair's style and all that. So basically, we don't bring it to answers, right? But we actually look at the context of the question and build the response. So if you really feel like technically the recaps, you want to build something on it, then of course the Kaplan will be helpful. But E2 is where you will see most of the components have been left out. So don't worry about that, but totally fine. In addition to what is covered in the recaps, if you really want to build on it or further understanding, referring to Kaplan is totally fine. And that's basically how to go about it.
All right. So that means that, so if I start with the online platform, like what you have given me, so if I go through that once, and then if I read more in detail on that, is that sufficient from the textbook?
Yes,
like
yes.
if needed, that's sufficient, right?
Yeah. If needed, you
Okay,
can
fine.
refer the textbook and build on it, Akansha,
See,
but
the
not
first
necessary
part
if
I
you
would
understood
say
the
is,
concept.
just added to the chain. First target for me is to make sure that all the videos and the text given in the app or even the platform, that is my first priority to complete no matter what happens.
Correct.
Exactly.
So once I'm done with that, then in case I need an
Yeah.
extra, I would refer to the textbook.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Got it.
What is there is more than sufficient for the examination preparation.
Okay, fine. All right. Got it.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Sir, hello, good evening, sir. I have two questions. One my friend has asked, and my question is there. One of my question is there any schedule of activities, and can it be reshared for the entire training program? And the second question my friend has asked, and my question is also that is there any standard regarding the word limits for the answers to each of the tasks or all the tasks? Two
Right. Thank you, Ronak, for those questions. So let me answer the question on the word count. Yes. So CIMA expects candidates to be able to type minimum 20 words per minute, right? 20 words per minute, and experience tells that candidates comfortably type more than 20 words. And for a 45-minute task question, CIMA recommends candidates to allocate 1/3 of the time for planning, so which means 15 minutes for planning, and then 2/3 of the time for typing the answer. So that means 30 minutes for typing the answers, and the minimum typing speed CIMA expects is 20 words per minute, which means you are looking at about minimum 600 words within 45 minutes. And I can tell you that you can comfortably, hit that target. Basically I've seen that candidates sometimes write 750 to 800. So that's basically the expected standard. And with regard to the weekly plan, Ronak, yes. So first of all, we will be following the schedule. So if you look at the schedule, we clearly have discussions. So let's say if the mock exam discussion is scheduled for, let's say, Sunday, then during that week, you will have to complete the mock exam, right? If there are 2 mock exams scheduled, then during the 7-week window, you will be required to complete the 2 mock exams. So if you look at the live session schedule, you will be able to gather, okay, this needs to be completed before that class, right? And the dates are given as to when this mock will be available for you to attempt. And similarly, you will also be given model tasks as we start the class. One thing is that the schedule will have some additions in terms of the work assigned to you, because it's dependent on the case study, right? So we can't really have a 100% standard way to go about it. As I said, if we feel like there's an area that is relevant for the case study, we will add it to the recap. And so there will be some additions then and there, but definitely as per the schedule, you will be required to attempt the mocks. You will be required to go through the industry related resources and attempt the model tasks. So that would be minimum that will be required on that.
Sir, accordingly, then if total words is, say, suppose for each task 600 words, then number of subtasks are there. We will divide it accordingly, and we can do it.
Exactly. So if the split between the tasks is 50% and 50%, then you're required to write 300 words per sub requirement. So yeah, that's how it works.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. Anybody else? Any more questions before dinner? Yeah. Right. So always the WhatsApp group is open for you guys to post the questions, and we will be responding on the groups as well. So don't consider this as the only opportunity to ask questions, right? So, and please communicate in the WhatsApp groups. I think we can basically share more resources once the pre-scene is released. So that's when we can really look into the industry, and that's when the questions will really pop up, right? So let me check the chapter.
Yeah, nothing.
Right. Right. And also, Arjun, I think the delivery class schedule is shared with the candidates, right?
Yeah, it's been shared.
Okay, cool.
So guys, as much as what's the pass percentage? Generally 40 to 50% pass, Arjun. So that's not a bad score passing percentage for a professional exam when you compare it with a few of the other exams. 40 to 50%, and a lot of them, like Yash was saying, there are a lot of working professionals who write, and a lot of people who write without preparations, adequate preparations. A lot of them don't even go through E2P to F2. That has been the reason, and for us, luckily, we have always been above 70-80% until I, so just follow the task. I don't think so you should worry about the pass percentage with us. Rather, you'll be worrying more about trying to complete the task even. Right. So thank you, Shane. Thank you all for attending. I think most of your doubts are clarified. And like I said, the first task till October 2nd for all of you guys are going to be to make sure that you're going to be completing your E2P to F2 uh, videos. And if there are notes are not accessible, please to get in touch with us in the group. As much as possible, try communicating in the group, because the same problem might be with somebody else also. It's going to help us to make it more easier. Trying to respond to one people, it's okay, but trying to respond it to every single guy in a personal message becomes extremely difficult. Rather, the same doubt can be clarified in the group, and we would be extremely happy to answer it until and unless it's extremely that we are held up with another session. But we are known for being student centric, and we want to continue to be student centric all our journey as being part of the tutor community. And thank you guys all, and welcome to Arivupro and Imperial College initiative of your CIMA journey. And we hope by the end of 45 days with us, you're going to have an amazing journey of learning with us. Thank you all, and thank you so much. Thanks, Shane, for coming up on a weekday.
Yeah, pleasure, Arjun. It's a pleasure, and so looking forward to the session, like all of you. And as Arjun said, it's actually a pleasure to actually welcome all of you. And yes, please, feel free to post any questions you have, and please do get in touch if there is anything. And as Arjun said, the first task now is to watch all the recaps before the class commences as much as you can, and then of course from there on we will take it forward. So thank you all of you, and good night. Stay safe.
Thank you, Shane.
Okay.
Thank you, Suresh sir. Thank you for attending session. Hope you found it worth it. I'll get in touch with you over the WhatsApp. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. See you soon.